Can I take your order, sir? Do you have any rare like vodka soda? Why yes, we have this rare vodka soda made by the rarest Viking, strawberry yes soda from Pandora, and topped up with ice cubes by Queen Elsa. No, that's not rare enough. I need something more rare and exclusive, luxurious, fancy. Oh, not rare enough, okay. I want to post it on my Instagram using the hashtag rare of the rarest houseplant, vodka soda. We do have vodka made from unicorn teardrops. You know what? I will take 2 of those. It's about $100,000 per teardrop, sir. 2 unicorn teardrops, please. I really don't want to have to go and make some unicorns cry. Just get me my 2 unicorn teardrops. 2 unicorn teardrop vodka. Coming right up. Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to my channel. So here we are doing another episode of our top 5 basic and common houseplants. As you guys know, in the last few months, I do these monthly series just to remind you, as well as myself, that some of your most precious and beautiful houseplants are your basic and common ones. If you've been part of this plant community for a while, you know that there's this trend of everyone wanting these rare, expensive houseplants that sometimes you may not be ready for, right? With that said, there is nothing wrong with that. If you do want to get a few of those houseplants, trust me, I'm doing it right now. I have been recently acquiring a few more of these fancier, a little bit more expensive houseplants, and partly because I love plants in general and I love learning from them. And this year I felt like I was ready to take them on, partly because, you know, I've learned a lot from my basic and common houseplants on how to care for houseplants, and I have adjusted my environment slightly to be able to obviously care and make sure that a lot of these plants are thriving. So if you are ready for them, if you can afford them, if you have the right environment, please by all means go for it. Don't let me stop you guys. But with that said, I do like to feature a few of these plants just to share with you guys kind of why I like them, why I think they're beautiful. So without further ado, let's get started with this top 5 favorite basic and common houseplants. I want to start with the Marble Queen Pothos. You guys know I love pothos. I think they are one of the most underrated plants ever. Really easy to care, and this Marble Queen is no exception. I love this classic beauty. I love the variegation on it. It has a nice overlay of the dark green and light green. It's not like a hard variegation or cut off variegation like say an Enjoy or even a Golden Pothos. So that's definitely one of the reasons why I like this. And again, it's so beautiful. This is actually a cutting off my mother plant I did earlier this year. It's been going so well, and pretty much when it comes to caring for these guys, the bright indirect light, even medium light, they'll thrive in. Allow that soil to dry between waterings, and you do need to kind of repot these guys maybe every year or every 2 years. It really depends how quickly they grow, but I found mine to grow pretty quickly. That's because I have them in the right lighting condition, and they're really easy to propagate. If you are looking for a little bit more details on how to care and propagate a pothos, I'll link a video I did here earlier. And yeah, so really classic beauty. Let me know if you guys have one in your collection. I think this is one of those plants that everyone needs to have, regardless what skill level you're at. But yeah, so the next plant I want to share with you guys is the Hoya ovavada. Now, for those of you guys who's not familiar with Hoyas, I think they are one of the easiest houseplants to care for. I actually do find it a lot easier than a pothos. They also come in so many varieties, and I know a few people have said all Hoyas look the same, but I think they are extremely uniquely different from each other. With nearly 300 types of species, I think it's so cool. And I know there's a wide range of it. You got more of the uncommon and rare ones, and you got more of the common ones here, like a Crimson Princess Carnosa or an ovavada. But because they are so uniquely different from each other, that it actually doesn't matter where you are in the spectrum, whether you're more in the common ones or uncommon types of Hoyas. I think they're beautiful regardless. And this ovavada is known to have these circular, thick leaves. And I actually got a variegata. So you guys can notice here in the older leaves, it has more of that variegation in the middle. However, as this guy grew, I noticed that the leaves started to be more splash and the variegation in the middle started to disappear. So that's pretty cool how obviously the lighting and the environment of your home can really change and impact the shape and the color of the leaves. And this has been thriving really well. You guys can even see these new leaves are starting to show. And one thing when it comes to Hoyas, I found that they do not actually like to be repotted, that they actually can stay in their pot for years. I've had people tell me that they've had theirs for 5 or even 10 years in the same container. They are also known to bloom beautiful scented flowers, so I think that's pretty cool. Like I said, I think they are really easy to care for as long as you provide them a lot of bright indirect light and allow that soil to dry in between watering, meaning completely dry. Make sure your potting medium is really airy. I have mine in my go-to potting mixture with a little bit more cactus cacti soil. So it's about like 60% cacti soil, 40% regular potting mix, and then I'll throw a handful of perlite or pumice. And yeah, so it's really, really cool. And I mean, I love this. I think what I need to do though is I might need to separate my Hoya carrii. So the reason why I potted these guys together is because they obviously require the same care. The Hoya carrii is more of a heart-shaped leaf, also variegation, but because the ovavada is taking off so well, I might need to repot this on its own container and then put it on a trellis and see how well it can thrive. But it's also giving me this new growth, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I love Hoyas. I have about maybe like 50 now in my collection, and there's still a few more I want to get. But yeah, so the next plant I want to share with you guys is the, ta-da, a Dieffenbachia. Now this is a pretty cool plant, and Dieffenbachias, I mean, these guys are pretty well known, pretty popular in the plant community. There's a lot of videos with a lot of views on a Dieffenbachia, so this guy is a classic beauty again. And I remember growing up with a Dieffenbachia. My grandpa had one, but this one is the Camille version. I think it's called a Camille, and I'm going to insert a picture of when I first got this plant. But one of the reasons why I fell in love with it is because of that huge foliage and that nice huge white variegation with the green crown around it. It looks so beautiful. If you guys remember, I did a video over the summer on 10 plants that I'm killing and hate right now, and this was in there, and partly because it wasn't doing well over the summer, but I committed to making sure it bounced back, and it is thriving again. Look how full it is. Earlier in the summer, it was dropping a lot of leaves, and what I discovered, what I was doing wrong with it is, because these guys are fairly easy to care for, but I was caring for it quite inconsistently, meaning that even though I water this when the soil is dry, I wasn't doing it consistently. So for example, I would allow the soil to dry, but then I would let it sit there for like weeks, and then I would water it. And next time it dries, as soon as it dries, I will water it. And then I will go for weeks again not watering it. So I just didn't like the inconsistency when it comes to caring for this guy, but now it's doing really, really well. And I think my goal for this one now is to repot it come spring and try to get the leaves a little bit bigger again, because like I said, these guys are beautiful. And with Dieffenbachias, they also come in many varieties. I actually saw one a couple weekends ago when I went to the nursery with my friend. I think it had like a mojito style color scheme to it. So I'm gonna insert that picture, and it's so stunning. I actually want to find this Dieffenbachia, but a smaller version of it, because the one I found was massive and it was beautiful. If I had the space, I would definitely get it. The only thing when it comes to Dieffenbachia that I would be cautious about is they are quite poisonous and toxic. So if you do have pets who like to nibble on your plants, just be mindful that you don't have this near them because it can harm them. But when it comes to the lighting for this guy, I have it in a nice bright indirect south-facing light. The potting mixture I have this in is about 60% regular potting mix and 40% cacti soil. But other than that, fairly easy. But like I said, I plan on repotting this guy during the spring and then having these leaves grow big and massive again, because I think it looks cool. But at the same time, I actually like the compact look. I think it looks pretty cool. What do you guys think? Comment below and let me know if you have a Dieffenbachia in your collection. But the next plant I want to share with you guys is the, ta-da, the Allocation Regal Shield. Now, when it comes to Allocatias, there's so many different varieties, and this is another one of those common ones that you can find at your local big box stores. And I actually had a really huge one a couple years back. I'm gonna insert what that plant looked like, but it was massive, and that's one of the reasons why I love Allocatias, because they can grow huge leaves. They are also called the giant elephant ear for that reason. And this one is really cool and stunning. Like, I find that the leaves here is not like obviously a velvety feel to like a black velvet, but it has a bit of that. And then you got this like kind of like nice light green veins that's a little bit contrasting against that dark green. So really, really stunning. But there's also different types of Allocatias you can find, like an Allocacia African mask. That's another common and beautiful one as well. I'm also trying to find this one called the Purple Sword, which is one of the first houseplants I got about 3 years ago. Unfortunately, you know, because I was new to plants, I didn't do a good job caring for it and it died on me. But it's really beautiful because the leaves are like quite narrow and long, and it has kind of a sword shape, hence the name Purple Sword. It has that deep purple back, and it's really cool. I haven't found one since then, but I remember finding that and I was like, that is a beautiful Allocacia. So I think that's the next Allocacia I want to get. But when it comes to caring for Allocatias, I find that they do well in a bright indirect light, that they do need to be repotted every year or every 2 years, depending how fast they grow, because you want to leave about 1 inch or 2 inches around the roots, allowing it to grow, because these guys can grow really massive and big. The potting mixture I use is a little bit more on the regular potting mix to just help retain a bit of that water, so about like 60% of that, and then 40% cacti soil with a bit of perlite for extra drainage. And they do need somewhat of a, you know, moderate humidity levels. Like, I find mine does well in at least 30% humidity. So I have more of my uncommon ones in the greenhouse. However, with this one, I found that they do okay in a regular room temperature humidity. putting a bit of the tray and pebble water trick around it, or turning on the humidifier in my room to kind of help increase that humidity levels. But other than that, fairly easy to care for. And again, another beautiful basic and common houseplant. And I want to see how big I can get this one, because the one I had was so massive. It took up so much space. It's the only reason why I took it down. I thought I was going to be able to wake it up in the morning, because you can put them into sleep, into dormancy period, and then come spring you can wake them up again. But yeah, so definitely not going to make that mistake again. The next plant I want to share with you guys is the Syndaxes Pictus silvery ant. So this is actually starting to become one of my favorite Syndaxes in my collection right now, and I love the variegation pattern on this. Very similar to the Exotica or the gregarious one, and they're all beautiful. But I actually find that if you compare this to, say, a Trubii, which everyone seems to want to find and get, and it's a little bit more uncommon, I actually do think this is a lot more beautiful. That obviously doesn't mean that the Trubii isn't beautiful, because clearly it is a beautiful plant, very stunning. I can see why everyone wants this, and I can see the appeal on it. It's just a beautiful plant. But when I put these guys side by side, and I kind of just look unbiasedly, not knowing one is common or one is uncommon, I actually would have to say that the silvery ant, I would pick more out of these two. Comment and let me know which one you would pick, but I just think this one looks a lot prettier, and maybe because there's a little bit more character to the shape of the leaves, the variegated patterns, how it's a little bit unique from the rest of its leaves, versus this one. They all look the same, I guess, to me. You know, every leaf that comes out, they all look the same from each other. But when it comes to this one, obviously the variegated pattern is a little bit different from the rest. So again, this is a little bit more easier to find. Obviously, it's relative to where you live, but I actually found mine at my local convenience store, or bodega, if that's what you guys call it. And when it comes to caring for Syndaxes, I do find they do really well in a bright indirect spot. Allow that soil to dry in between waterings, or when the leaves start telling you they need to be watered, like this one, I noticed the leaves are starting to curl, which means it does need to be watered because the pot is also light. The potting mixture I use for most of my Syndaxes is my go-to regular potting mix and cacti soil mixed together equal parts, and then a handful of perlite and pumice. I do find that Syndaxes tend to grow a little bit slower than, say, a Pothos. However, once they start trailing, they will take off. Similar to my jade satin Syndaxes, for a while it hardly grew, but as soon as I allowed it to trail, it just took off, and it's growing like crazy. So you can have these trailing down or climbing up on a moss pole if you like. It's so beautiful, along with the other 4 plants I featured today, and I'm happy to have them all in my collection. And again, you don't need to go out of your way or spend a fortune in acquiring some of these uncommon or rare plants. However, if you do have the means to do it, if you do have the skill level and the right environment, by all means go for it. Don't let me stop you. But comment below and let me know if you guys have any of these plants in your collection, or do you want to get any of them. Other than that, hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode of our top favorite basic and common houseplants. Stay tuned for next month's episode, when we're gonna do a little bit different. I may invite a few guests on that episode, so stay tuned for it. Other than that, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you guys soon. Peace.